I got a car. It's shit. And today, I'm going to talk about how this happened. It all started when I was looking around on the internet for a cool old 80s car to have, and then I discovered this 1988 Honda Prelude for sale. And I saw it, and I thought, yep, that's a good choice to make with my money. So, from that, I went and checked it out on September 17th, and I thought, what the hell, I'll buy it. So I did, for $1,500. This is the state that it's in.
Turn it off, it right? Turn it off, it right?
And despite warnings from both the car itself and my friends, I decided, you know what, I'll buy the car. So I did. And after a couple days and several kinks that needed to be worked out, I finally had the car insured in my name and everything was ready to go. So on the 27th, I decided to take it down to my friend's place to diagnose it and work on it more. Now my friend's place was only 30 minutes away, which really isn't that bad. However, well, for one, I didn't know where I was or the way to get there from where I was. My phone was almost dead and I had no charger or anything with me. And the car is kind of a piece of shit. So the three of those factors combined made it an absolutely terrifying drive. But at first it was okay. I got out of the neighborhood that the car was in, drove it for a bit, got up to an intersection, and the car died. And so I thought, okay, it does this all the time. Let me just try and turn it over. And I did. And it wouldn't. It was just completely dead. None of the electronics worked. Absolutely nothing worked. So that was great. So I had to deal with that. But luckily there were people nearby who helped me push the car, and I got it working again, got it jump started, and limped it all the way to my friend's place, and managed to make it there without my phone dying. It was an utterly terrifying experience, and yeah. But anyways, once I was there, we decided to do some diagnostics on it, first of which the battery, and we discovered that the battery was just completely fucked, and it needed a new battery. So I pushed it off to the side, we took the battery out, and then I just went home, because there was nothing else I could do. Now, after I got back home, a present was waiting for me. One of the things that I ordered for the Prelude. Now, you might think, oh, was it a carb? Oh, was it, I don't know, some mechanical component? And no, it was the most important thing of all, the radio. Because you see, there was no radio in the car at all. There was just a blank spot where it would have gone, just a big old hole where it was supposed to go. And that was just obviously unacceptable, and obviously the first thing that should have been done to the car. Before anything else, obviously, the radio was the most important. Can you tell I'm being sarcastic? Either way, I had got the radio for it, and I decided that I was gonna install it whenever I got the battery. And on the 1st, October 1st, after school, I just went, I bought a battery, and I brought the radio. And we installed both, and everything was great. One of my friends who was thinking about buying the car from me decided to look at it with me, and he tried driving it. Worked perfectly fine. It's like as soon as it's going to go to someone else, it decides to be perfectly well behaved. Didn't stall at all, didn't die, none of it. And we had a great time just driving it around the block a couple times, and it was great.
This car sucks shit. I could reasonably give someone a reach around in the front passenger seat.
And after getting a couple of cool photos of me with the car, my friend had to leave, and then eventually I went home as well. And then I went back again on the 5th with my friend to take it to his place because he wanted the car. getting it tuned up. Kind of. It was completely retarded. Oh, and he turned it off. Oh.
That stinks. It blew exhaust out the intake. So cool.
And then, as you can see, this next day on the 6th, we went, me and my friend, for an hour-long drive to go get it tuned up at one of my friend's places where he worked, right in the parking lot. Ended up being great. The tune-up helped a ton. It still dieseled like shit, as you could hear, but at least it ran a little bit better, and it made more power. At least it seemed to make more power. But anyways, after that, we drove an hour back to my friend's house, and about 50 of those minutes of which was with the parking brake on. That's not a mistake I'll ever make again. But anyways, we did get it back in one piece, everything was fine, and then we decided to do a little bit more work on it. You see, one of the previous owners, and I'm not talking about the last owner or the owner before that, but some owner at some point decided to use the car as like a painting table or something, maybe, I don't know. But all we know is the hood and the trunk were covered in this like coating of primer, and the paint underneath was completely okay. Of course, we kind of messed it up when we tried to buff it out, but that's what we tried to do. We tried to buff it out. Which kind of worked. I mean, we got a good like third of it done, and got that paint underneath kind of shown up. And you can see here our beautiful setup that we used to do this, involving a standing lamp and a bunch of microfiber towels. So yeah, that was great. But anyway, we got a good amount of that done. And just buffing it out. There was also this cool bulb that we found that was just kind of like burnt out in this weird kind of pattern. But yeah, I mean, overall, ended up pretty okay, I think. And then decided to go home for the night. It was getting pretty late, getting pretty dark, hard to see, and we would continue it another day. And then on the 8th, we came back again, this time with a wet and dry vac to just try and get some of this dirt out of the car and just detail it a little bit and get that interior cleaned up. And it actually cleaned up really well. I have a little bit of a time lapse running right now of just kind of the process. It was so satisfying seeing all that dirt just like come out of the carpet. Not perfect, but you know, a hell of a lot better than it was before. Certainly a lot better, again, like I said, than it was. Who knows the last time it was cleaned, but definitely had been a long time, and this definitely helped, and it smelled so much better in there as well. But also, you can see here, these are some before and after photos of what it looked like before the clean, during, and after. Just so much of the leaves and stuff had been removed, and some of the stains were just kind of stuck in there, but we got a good amount of them out. And in addition to that, we also got a little bit more done to the trunk. We never did anything to the hood, but for the trunk we did sand some more and just try and get it looking a little bit nicer. A couple of days later, on the 10th, we finally figured out what this mysterious wire did, because it got knocked out and broken, and then we tried to start the car up and it just would immediately die, and we figured out that it was the fuel pump. So we got it fixed up and installed back in, and then the car started perfectly. Anyway, after that, we took it for a little bit of a ride around the place, took it to a sheet, got some food. Everything was great. Drove it back and just decided to call it a night there. But we got a lot done because we figured out what that wire was for. We got a little bit more done with the trunk, and we also fixed this screw here. We just tightened it because this piece was loose and it was bothering us. So we got all that done and then headed out. Anyways, after that, not a lot happened. On the 14th, I decided to take it to a choir performance that I had. drove there just fine. It got a lot of people talking about it. Actually, all the time that I had the car, lots of people were actually talking about it and saying, hey, oh, I had one of these when I was a kid, or, oh, is that a Prelude? And it was really cool. But the car drove just fine to the event. We always like to get ice cream afterwards, so I stopped at the Goodberries, turned the car off. Everyone was staring at me because I was blasting 80s music in it, and just, I felt cool as shit. Go to turn the car off. Diesel's like crazy, backfires, scares everyone. Absolutely horrific experience. Would not recommend. That car failed me that night. But that was not the only time it failed me, because once I let it sit and whatever, and after a couple hours, we were done talking and decided to head home, and it just wouldn't start for me. Although I did eventually get it to start, and I got it to limp. It stalled out during the drive out of the parking lot, but eventually I got everything working right. The fuel was loose again, the fuel wire, and then I limped it home back to my friend's place, at which point I kind of realized that I definitely can't keep this thing. So at this point I was 100% okay with my friend getting it, and I just had to wait for him to get the money to be able to buy it off of me. However, this plan would prove to be futile, because a little while later my friend said that he just couldn't buy it. So it sat for, well, not just weeks, but actually months, just sitting in my friend's yard while I listed it on Facebook Marketplace and just waited, hoped, and prayed for someone to buy it. But eventually someone did come and look at it on December 7th. And me and my dad went out to go to the car, decided to try and turn it over. Completely dead. The battery had died again. And at this point I was pretty convinced that it was some sort of parasitic power draw or something that was causing this car to just die and kill batteries. But eventually we got it started up, although by this point the guy who was interested in it was here. Tried helping with it. We eventually got it running. I decided, I was like, hey, do you want to see if we can back it up? He was like, sure. Put it in reverse, drove about 1 foot, and then it died again. And I was like, oh god, this is a terrible impression. He's not gonna want this car. But as a matter of fact, the opposite happened, and he loved it and he wanted it. So he was like, yep, I'm gonna get the car. So we agreed for $1,700, and then the next day, on the 8th, he came by with a trailer, picked it up, and took it away. And that was the end of my ownership of the Prelude. I had it from September to December. So yeah, I mean, in the end, it was a really cool car. I mean, it was a shit car. It let me down several times, but it was awesome being able to have an 80s car. Although, next time, for when I get one, which I definitely will get one, I'll make sure it's something that is a lot more feasible. I've been looking at several different cars. The Prelude isn't my first choice. Again, like I said, the reason why I got it was because it had cool graphics on the sides and it had pop-up headlights. And I thought, man, this is in my budget. I can buy this thing. Great. It runs, it drives. Obviously, after that, I found out it didn't run or drive well, but still. But anyways, that is the story of my bad financial decision, my Honda Prelude 1988 2.0S. But now the guy who has it, he's really happy with it. He's working to try and get it fixed up, maybe restore it a little bit, but the big thing is he thinks it needs a carb rebuild, and he's actually working on that right now. So hopefully in the future, get to see the car maybe running as it should rather than barely. And yeah. So again, that is the story of my 80s car that I briefly had for about, what, 2 months? 3 months? Yeah. Have a good one.